During our Georgian season at the BBC, we had an in-tune, an object a day from the exhibition at the Queen's Gallery at Buckingham Palace, part of the exhibition marking the 300th anniversary of the beginning of the Georgian era with George I, not surprisingly. Wonderful little tours around with Desmond Shaw-Taylor, a survey of the Queen's pictures, which are still available as podcasts. Well, I got to play with an organ, fascinating it was, but I wasn't allowed to play the harpsichord made for Frederick, Prince of Wales in 1740. Robert Woolley was. There's a royal sound, if ever you heard it. It's the saraband and gigue from the Suite in D minor that Handel wrote for Princess Louisa, I think daughter of George I. Robert Woolley on the Shudi harpsichord at Kew Palace, which was made for Frederick, Prince of Wales. And he's here. As I said, I wasn't allowed to play with it when I went around the Buckingham Palace exhibition. But you actually recorded those in situ, where the harpsichord belongs at Kew.
It does, yes, that's its usual home. One curious feature is that it's the only harpsichord that plucks with quills from the ravens of the Tower of London. So that's a treat and very rare.
Still,
yes.
Fresh
Oh, well,
quills,
not
no?
new ones from the current ravens, not historic quills.
That's extraordinary. What does that do to the sound and make it different?
Well, they behave very well, and they're very easy to look after and regulate. They feel very even.
Is that the ravens or the
both? I think.
Or the
yes.
quills.
It's a very comfortable instrument to play. Indeed,
it's a very odd instrument because I said I was allowed to look at least play with the organ in the exhibition, and I think you coming through the door, you thought I said there was an organ involved with the harpsichord, but in fact there was.
Yes.
There was one strange composite beast.
It was a clavier organ originally. This was Schudi's most elaborate and expensive model. It consisted of an organ with, I think, 4 or 5 stops, and then above it the harpsichord.
Wow.
And the manuals control both instruments. They could be played together or separately. One drawback is the tuning.
I'm trying to get my head around that.
Yes, well, Handel used such an instrument in his oratorios to direct from, which was very good. At the organ more for the choruses and the harpsichord for arias and recits, and so it may have been that instrument that inspired this one. But this certainly made Shudi's reputation, and the commission from Frederick, Prince of Wales, was soon followed by others from Haydn and Handel. And various others sort of ordered these instruments. I think,
are there any still in playing condition?
Oh yes. There are a number of Shudis in playing condition, but this is the earliest, and I think it has a more a clearer and lighter quality than the later instruments, which perhaps are moving more towards the classical period and very refined.
Yeah.
This is really clear and lets the music through, I think, beautifully.
Well, I think people can hear all this, can't they? Because our podcast is still available for our objects, but I think if you go around the exhibition, and they will hear you and this harpsichord as part of the soundtrack guide.
Yes. Well, these became international instruments, and the Empress Maria Theresa ordered one, Frederick of Prussia, Handel, Haydn and Clementi all had Shudi harpsichords.
Who was Shudi?
Shudi was the maker of this instrument. He came from Switzerland.
Sounds like a pop star.
Yes. Well, he arrived in Switzerland as a joiner, I think, in about 1719, and was apprenticed to a harpsichord maker. And then this instrument for Frederick was his first important commission.
Absolutely extraordinary. Well, there's a lot of royal music around, and we're going to hear another one in a moment by someone called Domenico Paradis. Though I gather he called himself Paradisi when he came to London, maybe to sound a little bit more heavenly to his patrons.
Yes, to sound more Italianate. This was a marvellous set of sonatas, very forward-looking, and it was studied and played in the Mozart household as well. It's on the cusp between the Baroque and the Rococo period. They're marvellous sonatas, I think.
Was he a big hit in London?
Yes, but not as an opera composer. He succeeded more on the keyboard. Like Fischetti, he came to London to compose operas, but it's his keyboard music that's really his best.
Well, of course, they're all, as you were saying about the extraordinary hybrid instrument, they're also bound in with oratorios and operas because, I mean, there it sat in the pit as the unifying force, and the conductor-composer very often conducting from the keyboard.
Well, very much so. And these particular sonatas were dedicated to Princess Augusta, the wife of Frederick, Prince of Wales.
So they were musical.
So they may have been played
household.
on this instrument. Yes.
In Kew Palace, in the little palace at Kew, which is where I think the daughters lived, didn't they?
They did, yes.
And it's still there to be seen, and of course the exhibition is still on at the Queen's Gallery at Buckingham Palace, and it's available on the Royal Collection Trust website as well. Robert, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And wonderful to see you. And here is just a little sonata number 6 in A by Domenico Paradis, played by Robert on that famous harpsichord at Kew Palace. Robert Woolley playing the Shudi Harpsichord from Kew Palace, which is at the Queen's Gallery at Buckingham Palace at the moment. Little Sonata, number 6 in A by Domenico Paradis, written for Princess Augusta, the wife of Frederick, Prince of Wales, who owned the harpsichord. So it's probably the first time it was played. It all comes together very neatly. And music for the first Georgians exhibition was recorded for that, and it's available to listen to in full on the